No, no, nothing's holding them back, especially the geese.
Well, and
the geese.
You mentioned the turkeys being reintroduced, and the geese were reintroduced also. And when they did that, they introduced a race of the geese that has larger clutches, more eggs and per
more
nesting.
prolific, huh?
Yes, and so that's so when the Audubon was first founded, people celebrated seeing geese. It was sort of a rare sighting, and now, of course, we rue the day that
totally overwhelmed with geese poop. Especially golfers, they can't stand it. You know, geese. Most people don't realize geese are they're like cattle. You know, they're
grazers.
They just range, and the golf course is perfect, especially when you come to a green and it's got 4 or 5 of these great big clumps of stuff. We won't call it goose stuff all over the place. You know, they've done all kinds of things to get rid of them on the golf course.
Right.
One of the things they tried was swans. Geese are afraid of swans. They go after them. Didn't matter. They just keep away from the swans. Only stay on the water. So they range around and browse all over the links everywhere. Well, then they figured, well, get some dogs out. So they got dogs running around the golf course. Well, the geese just fly up the other end. There's no cure for the geese. I think they should have some natural control. You should allow hunters with no big fancy expensive licenses, federal, state, local, and regulations, to have a bow and arrow season. They have an archery season for deer. And there's no reason you can't have an archery season for geese. And you're not going to shoot anybody full of holes, and it's not going to make a lot of noise, and you'll kill 90% of them. These archers are extremely accurate. Then take home and you have your roast goose for Christmas, which is tough, gamey, and
greasy.
And greasy, and impossible to pluck. You have to skin them. You just can't. You can't pluck them. I've eaten a few myself, and I used to hunt geese ardently, even with all the complications. Never got one. Went to Long Island, started golfing, and then I got all the goose I wanted. I used to, on my golf bag, I had another little bag, a plastic bag, and every once in a while somebody would hit a goose that would be out in the fairway, knock and kill them with a shot in the neck or the head. And you'd come up and here's a goose that's still warm, with it's not full of lead or anything, and it's dead. I put it in my bag, I'd go home, skin it, go fast and furious, have it in the freezer, it was still warm.
My goodness.
But I do know they ain't the same as the goose you buy at the supermarket.
No. Fair enough.
Goosey. Okay. The loggerhead shrike, a fascinating bird to me. Tell us about it. Are you familiar with it at all?
Well, of course, it's the northern shrike is the shrike that we have here. But yeah, it's a bird that is, well, I always say it looks like a mockingbird on steroids. So it looks sort of like a songbird, but it actually, it's a carnivore, and so it will take and capture a mouse or a small rodent and actually put them on
thorn bushes.
Thorn bushes, right.
They store them by just spearing them on one of the thorns. It's an incredible thing, and then they have plenty to eat later. They also get birds. They're bird. They eat birds too, and like the peregrine hawk.
Peregrine, yeah. Right.
Okay, we're talking about birds. We have with us Ruth Lundin, who is the president of the Jamestown Audubon Society, quite knowledgeable about birds, and we, I must say, are kind of just rambling around. Is there anything particular about birds that you want to talk about?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was about the this time of year particularly, we get a lot of calls about what to do about baby birds. And so we think it's very important for people to understand that the best way that you can ensure that a bird survives is to get it back reintroduced with its mother. We humans are not good step parents, so the most important thing to remember, if you see a baby bird that's out of the nest, seems to be in trouble, is to try and reconnect it with its mother. And we we always were taught that if you touch a bird, the parents will reject it. Well, that's not
Utter
the
nonsense.
case.
Bosh,
That's right.
bosh and bosh.
So if you can find the nest, put it back in the nest. If it's on the ground and you think it's not quite ready to fly, just put it in a bush somewhere nearby, because it's going to call its mama, and mama's going to come and take care
And you're
of it.
going to hear mama too, because
Yeah.
mama's shrieking and screeching and zipping around. You know
But-
mom's there.
Well, even if she's not, it doesn't happen to be right that minute. She is in the neighborhood, and she is going to hear that baby when it's hungry. So that's the number one thing you can do for a wild animal, any wild animal really, is to first try and leave it alone and let mama take care of it.
Call mom.
Yep.
Call mom.
Because the other one, of course, that frequently happens is a fawn. And people will see a fawn, a newborn fawn, on the ground. It might be right next to a walking trail. But mama knows where it is. It's safe. It won't move. Leave it there and let mama come back at night, probably, to feed it and maybe take it somewhere further away from humans.
To safety, yeah.
To safety, but to see a fawn and think, oh, I've got to move it, I've got to get it away from people, or even dogs, the best thing to do is to leave that fawn where it is.
The exception being where you find mom on the road,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Which
unfortunately.
does happen.
Right, right.
You know what kills more people in the United States than any other animal?
No.
Deer.
Oh,
Auto accidents.
auto accidents, uh-huh.
Yeah. Hello, dear. That's why we have 2 seasons up here. It's 3 seasons.
Right, right.
The auto insurance companies, they are trying to get us to shoot all the deer. And it's pretty hard, because less and less people are shooting deer now, too,
Right,
like the
right.
ducks. Hunting is not a big deal anymore. It used to be, and the authorities haven't done anything to help out there.
No, it's, I know, because I was in South Carolina, there's a refinery, a chemical plant, that because of the nature of the chemicals they make, they had to have a large buffer with no human population. And so it's a natural wild area. And they were having problems on their property with automobile accidents, human deer accidents, so they began to allow their employees to hunt there. And
Keeping them down a little bit.
keeping the deer population down, and it was a benefit for the employees.
And they harvested the deer. I'm sure the
They
meat was
harvested,
used.
right, and that way they cut down on the insurance, for the car insurance, and had an employee benefit that was really appreciated.
There's a unique situation on Long Island where the Fire Island area is. Sometimes the bay freezes, so you can go from the island over to the Fire Island, which is separated by a big bay. Well, during that time, deer went over there, and now they have no natural predators, and the deer are just abounding and expanding, and they refuse to allow hunting of any kind, not even archery. So the deer are all starving to death and diseased, and
Right.
you can see they're in horrible shape. Eventually, I guess they'll realize that there is such a place. There is a place for harvesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what about windmills? One of the complaints about windmills is they bat the birds down.
Yes, and it's hard for people to understand how something that moves so slowly, as you're looking at those windmills, it looks like they're moving so slowly, how that can affect the bird population. The National Audubon in Audubon, New York, we have a policy that says, first of all, that we encourage green energy, but that it should not, that these wind turbines should not be placed in migratory areas that will have a severe
They do
impact.
bat them down.
Yeah.
You know, at one point, I don't know if it's still in effect, they actually passed a law that for bad people to count the birds that have been knocked down by the windmill underneath it.
Oh, I hadn't.
Yeah, believe it or not. Ripley Ripley Hawk Watch goes right through where they want a lot of birds.
Right.
Although I think the hawk's usually a little higher than that anyway.
Well, it just really depends. These turbines are very, very tall. It's
And they're ugly as sin.
Well,
I can't imagine putting these things in our beautiful wild spaces and everything. The desert, which is so beautiful, up in the mountains and the hills, and they go whoosh, 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 and they have all kinds of hazardous chemicals in them. But you can see I'm not in favor of it. I'm in favor of solar energy. Put those nice quiet cells. And incidentally, they do have a little windmill thing you put on top of your house.
right. Right.
Which,
And now they're
quiet.
also working to develop horizontal windmills, so that rather than being this huge expanse above the earth, that they're actually more like those prayer wheels.
Yeah. Sounds better to me.
Yeah.
They also suggest putting them along the throughways because there's a lot of wind caused by the traffic, and that'll automatically give you fun.
They're a lot higher than the traffic, but
well, no, the little ones, the little guys, that they can get down. Ruth London, specialist on birds, president of the Audubon Society. Let me say that I'm concerned about the fact that, again, you don't have enough people interested in nature. And bird watching is probably one of the greatest parts of nature. Is there anything else you can do besides have a course for kids, not you, but anybody, in involving their kids in birds? Besides hunting. Up here, that's the major involvement of people up here, is hunting. Well, a lot of them, I mean.
You know, well, yes, and getting kids outdoors, however you choose to do that, I think is important. And I've met hunters that just really value the time that they're sitting there in the blind and watching the chipmunk and watching the birds. So I think there's many different ways to go out and enjoy nature, but the important thing, like you say, is to get out. The bird feeders are a wonderful way to get kids started because that brings the birds close enough that they can see them and identify them, and I have a hummingbird feeder that's right on my window, and so you can't get much closer than that.
And they come.
Right. They come. Taking walks, just going and seeing what you can see, seeing the bugs, seeing the birds. I think one of the important things, and we have a lot of grandparents and grandkids that come to the Audubon, is to realize you don't have to be able to name anything.
Although identification is a wonderful part of it.
It can be.
To be able to say that. I can see that guy is a red-headed woodpecker or a flicker or one of the very, you know, the ivory bills are coming back, the woodpeckers?
Well, they think that they have sighted them, yes, in Arkansas, so we can hope for that. But just having a kid stop and look at a caterpillar, stop and look at those birds. Butterflies are so much easier to see, maybe, for kids than birds.
And to collect, I might add.
Right. So it's just a good opportunity to get kids
Get out of here. They just told me. They're throwing us off the air. I want to give you 30 seconds just to wrap up. Uninterrupted. Go ahead. This is your time.
Well, thank you. We at the Audubon would encourage people to come visit us or just go out and walk in your own favorite place with someone that you love.
Thank you. Hello, Brent Barmore at Barmore's Greenhouses over in Wettville. He spent an hour showing me how to properly get a geranium going now. What a guy. And, you know, they're all finished now, most of the greenhouses. It's a seasonal business.
Yep.
All right. I want to thank everybody who called in. I want to thank all those people that, sorry caller, the last caller, we won't be able to get you in, but you come back sometime.
I'll do it.
You know, I like to do 2 birding shows. One is the fall and one is the spring show because there's 2 different whole affairs, you know. Okay, so we'll see you in December.
Very good.
Or sometime soon. We want to thank all the viewers also, and I want to say we have a special group of folks here that I've really just got to mention. They are just terrific. They've done everything. Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Remiger, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, John Hamels, and Dan Berg occasionally. And next week we're going to be talking about Epic, which has been cut to the bone, another senior program down the tubes. We're going to have a specialist on that next week. So hang in there, come back, we'll see you then. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers with a happy Father's Day for you.